what is the end of this game?
No idea.
Where do you get to?
Buying Asking Alexandria shirts at Hot Topic and drinking Orange Julius in the mall. That's evolutionary conclusion to me. Hey, welcome to Video Game Podtimism. It is the Optimist video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. My name is Chase.
And my name is David. And Chase, I think, has something to say. He started straight off with the with the beginning of the pod. Here we go.
Sometimes it's just that I don't have like something right on the dome, you know? Because my initial thought was like, okay, maybe I talk about how cool a heater is right now because I've really been enjoying the heater in this room, which seems
the heater's on a heater.
I like just to give that bit the time of day. We moved into this house like 6 years ago, 5, and when we were moving in, the landlord was like, "We have central heat in this house. There's also like little like floorboard level heaters that you can just like turn on in the rooms and shit." And he's like, and I don't really use those. And my brain said, great, I will discard that information. And I've seen the little floorboard heaters all the time. And I'm like, we don't use those. That's what I was told, which I will say, taking the advice of a landlord, maybe not the best move.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's been like uncharacteristically cold in Seattle recently, like super duper cold for us, which like, okay, anybody north of me who it's like, it's -20 right now in Quebec. Like I know it's really cold up there, but for me and my poor
for you right now.
Sweaty feet that are always sweaty, it's hard when it's cold. So I was like, you know what I'm going to fight against the cold with these little tiny space heaters, and man, is it cozy in here. I closed the door and I am warm.
Hell yeah. I love that. So do they heat the floor or they're just they're just on the floor?
Yeah, they're near the floorboard.
Gotcha.
And so they're like kind of a space heater a little bit, but it's great. It's wonderful. It's cozy in here. It makes the winter a little bit easier. So
was your landlord asking you not to use those? Or were they just saying like, oh, I don't really, it's just like an aside, like I don't really use them, but you can use them?
I think it was much more that. I think my brain attached to this information in a way that I like maybe was not good for me, you know?
The subtext that Chase read was, if you use these floorboard heaters, we will evict you immediately without cause.
You're getting kicked the fuck out of here. Yep. Sorry, squatters' rights. No thanks.
Not in Washington. Do they have squatters' rights in Washington? I think it's a California
thing. Yes.
They do? Okay, there you go.
Talk about these. Yeah, I was about to say, talk about these quads are squatters' rights. I don't know what's in there.
I go to the gym. My quads are ready. My quads are ready to squat for as long as it needs to happen to keep my housing.
Got to see my squatters' wrongs too. You been playing video games, David?
I have been. It's all still just Metaphor Refantazio.
Yeah.
I've cleared my whole schedule. It's just Metaphor all the time.
Yeah, sure. How's it going in there so far?
It's still great. It's still really, really good. I'm like almost 40 hours in now.
Sure.
And it's still got me pretty damn hard. Every new area is just so fun and interesting, and just the way that they let you fill out the map around the big cities is very satisfying. So just walking around town, talking to people, getting little quests, going back to your gauntlet runner, seeing where the new pathway takes you on this beautiful map that they've made for the game. And just seeing what awaits you, because sometimes it's something pretty basic, sometimes it's like a pretty lengthy dungeon in there. So it's just a lot of interesting and fun decisions you have to make, especially with, I talked about a little bit last time about how I was enjoying the time system more, like the calendar system more. It is just fun to look at everything you have to do and start planning things out within a specific amount of time. I think I have like 17 days to do stuff right now. Yeah. And it really just shows you kind of like what you start to value. Like if I have someone I can talk to and like build up my bonds, I'm doing that. If I need to go and if I feel like I need better weapons, I'll go and raid a dungeon. It's just a very interesting way, like I said before, for me, not have it feel so overwhelming to make decisions. There's urgency behind my decisions, and that helps me put my blinders on to like things that maybe aren't as important to do the things that I think are really going to help me out with my missions. Yeah. The game is also just very tender and sweet in a lot of ways, which I really appreciate. It's a good game to just play on the big TV while Mallory's around, because she'll listen to the dialogue and be like, wow, that's really sweet. I like this game. This game's great. I'm like, yeah, you're right. It is. This is just really great understanding dialogue of people's emotions and their trials and tribulations and pains and desires.
Yeah.
I also feel like it does a good job of, towing the line or walking the line between really funny, kind of irreverent character moments and very intense, almost like pretty dark content in this game as well. It's like one moment you're looking at Hulkenberg just wolfing down a disgusting looking fish and her just opining about how delicious it is because she's like the world's nastiest foodie. And then you're talking to someone else about, how we need to find a place for your son's bones to rest in peace. And it's like talking about just their life and what that means. So it really gives you a wide breadth of emotions and topics to deal with as well, which I think it handles it very well. It's impressive that it just it handles everything kind of nonchalantly in a way.
Yeah.
It gives all these moments kind of equal footing, but at the same time, it's up to the player to really understand, like, oh wow, this is a very intense thing that this character is sharing with me right now, and this is a very heavy subject matter, as opposed to cooking something in the kitchen and just shooting the shit, which is also important for building friendships, but maybe not as intense of subject matter. So they do that really well of demonstrating and letting you experience the full breadth of what it means to be like a friend and in a relationship with somebody non-romantically, right?
Yeah, like I feel like a lot of the time I think about the advantages of kind of shorter games, specifically around like horror and stuff like that, of how effective a pretty concise story can be. But I also feel like one of the advantages that really long games like this have is that you can really steep in the character stuff. Like you have plenty of time to kind of subvert like what would normally be sort of like typical story structure, Yeah. Like in the overall story, you do have the kind of like, rising action climax shit going on, but it like, there's so much time in between there that you get, like you're saying, these moments of like, wow, that's heavy as fuck. And then you like go do something else. And it's like, that's really funny. Or like, that's very charming that this character did this or something like that. And so at least I don't always like my like pattern matching brain doesn't get in the way of like knowing what's happening, which feels much more like what it feels like to be a human a lot of the times of like, there's like heavy shit going on in your life, or, you'll get some wild news and then something amazing happens right after that. Or, it's just not the kind of storybook shit that normal kind of storytelling would kind of make you believe. Yeah. Which I don't think anybody expects their life to go like that. But I think that, at least for me personally, the contrast when I was like a lot younger of like, this is kind of chaotic. This is what life felt like a lot of the time. That the like Atlas games capture that a little bit more accurately than I think a lot of other games can. Yeah. But by having so many different personal storylines going on with the, like the bonding side quests that you can go on with these different characters. Yeah. It just gives you a great breadth of story types and archetypes going on that just feels, like you said, very real to life. Like there's tragedy, there is happiness, there is everything in between. Yeah. So it's pretty great. It's pretty great. And it just keeps you wanting to know more. And everybody's story is compelling. And so whenever anyone else wants to talk to me, I'm like, I have to choose between all these 3 people right now who want to chat. Man, this is tough. I got too many friends. Yeah. In the last week or so, I have also gotten this game has gotten me. Yeah. I was still really early on, and like I'm realizing also just getting through the tutorial essentially, which was like 5 or 6 hours long. And once it let me off the leash, I was much more relieved. I think because like that's when the stuff that I like about Atlas games showed up. Sure. And just not really being on the rails quite as much was a real relief. But yeah, the first time that you essentially get these like scenes between you and the major other characters, I was like, oh yeah, shit, dude, I am in. Like the first one you go into, I don't think this is like any sort of spoiler. It's like the first scene of you and Hulkenberg hanging out where she's like, oh yeah, I used to like train with this dude like before I was becoming a knight, and that was like really amazing. I wish I could meet him again.
Fuck Rodanthe.
Yeah.
Fuck
he
Rodanthe.
shows up and he's like, oh my God, it's you. Also, what the fuck are you doing hanging out with an Elda?
Yeah.
And he's like,
Chodanthe.
Yes. Yeah. He's like, I thought better of you. And she's like, whoa, what the fuck was that?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, dude, this is the good shit. This is the Atlas shit.
Yeah. Give me some of that prejudice. I love it. It's great.
I think it was just like, there was so much going on there that I was like, they could take this in so many different directions, you know?
That's a fun one. That's a fun one with Oldenburg.
Yeah. I think because she carries herself pretty highly, like she's this like honorable knight and like has been, you know, I wouldn't call her like a soft person, but she's pretty kind to most people. And so to like see somebody who she thought was very cool in the past suddenly become like, oh, that guy's terrible. It was such a contrast with her character. And so I'm like, you can go in so many different directions with the next couple of these. Again, just because like I played other Persona games, I know that there's going to be like 9 more of those scenes, which is just so good. I feel like they took the cool part of Mass Effect 2 where you talk to your teammates and then you do like some cool missions with them, like that culminate all of this kind of side
those
stories.
culmination missions were so good in Mass Effect 2.
They're incredible. And like, I think like Atlas does that just so well. And, you know, I don't know if they culminate in this one in some kind of bigger mission, but I'm always happy when a new one shows up and I'm like, give me more of that story, man. I got to know what's going on with these people.
And then I'm looking at my calendar. I'm like, man, I got 14 days left. How am I supposed to do this and level up and get ready to infiltrate this place? This is going to be tough, man.
Yeah. If it does eventually become like super anxiety inducing, sometimes I'll just kick the difficulty down a little bit. If I'm like, I really do want to see all of this like one character's thing, and I truly don't know if I'm going to have time. But again, as we talked about last week, I think trying to find what you put priority into is kind of part of the experience. Yeah. And the friction there is sort of the point. Rather than like 100%ing it your first time or whatever. Yeah. I have too many friends now. Too popular. This Elda boy. Yeah. It's good stuff. It's all very good. How are you liking it in comparison to a Persona game at this point? I feel like I mentioned a little bit of this last week where the bizarreness of putting an RPG in high school was enough for me to be like, whoa, that is very bizarre. And so going to fantasy weirdly for me kind of takes some of the thrill out of it in a way. Sure. It's not unthrilling because it is still a very cool place and like the stakes that they set up are very interesting to me. So, you know, give or take there. But I think that the core stuff that Atlas does really well is in this game too. Like S-links in Persona, I think is what that game calls them. Essentially the character scenes. Like those are still here and like that's the shit that I really love. I love the sort of like the exploration of space, like literally physical space. In any city is always really good of like kind of getting to know, like I know Grand Trad really well now, right? Like I know where these streets go and I know kind of like what part of the city this leads to and oh, that person over there is always there or whatever, right? Like that stuff really works. I mean, the combat is like, there are some differences, but it is very, very similar to a Persona game. Yeah. And like, I'm okay with that, you know? Weirdly enough, I think that like, I've been thinking a lot about like Final Fantasy in comparison to Atlas and Persona and now Metaphor recently. Yeah. Because like I've liked some of the recent Final Fantasy games, but like they're not hitting in the way that they used to, you know, like they're not the kind of like genre defining shit. Whereas I think that Atlas is making those games. They are making those games right now where like Persona 4, 5, and now Metaphor are all just like flags in the ground of like, look at this shit that we're doing, you know? And while like, you know, I think all of the combat in all of those is good. I don't think that's like the thing about these games, you know, like oftentimes combat boils down to like almost a puzzle a lot of the times of like, how am I going to solve this? And I think Metaphor smartly adds like, you can also solve it in the city when you're like preparing to go out on these like ventures, right? Of getting the information from the information, right? And like, you know, if it's like, oh, you can't use this one class that like you've been leaning on for a while, it's kind of fun to be like, all right, well shit, I got to level up that class for something else, right? Like I got to give Stroll and not the not the like
The warrior.
pugilist. Yeah, the like any of those like classes. I got to figure out something else for him because like he's going to get his ass kicked if I go in there like that. And so there's this like puzzle solving element of the combat. But I think that for a long time, Final Fantasy has been trying to lean on like, we've got the most intense and I don't know if complicated is the right word, but like mechanically complex combat, right? I think that's just a holdover from when like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, all those games, Final Fantasy games, combat was evolving pretty quickly. Yeah. And it was like, wow, look at how like cool the combat stuff is in 10 and 11 and 12. And like they're making strides in that area. Whereas I think that Atlas has said, all right, we think that that's good enough. It's fun enough, the combat stuff. Yeah. And like, you know, to their credit, I rarely get bored in the combat. I think they also smartly said, let's not make it super long. Like it's pretty rare that a battle lasts more than like 30 seconds to a minute in an Atlas game, you know?
It's true. Yeah.
If it's a boss, it'll take a little while, but like a normal combat encounter, not even. And so I think what they supplemented in their case is like, we're going to go really hard on character and place, right? Like building this like ensemble cast, usually building this world that is like infectious and you want to get farther into. That's in every single one of these games, right? Of like, well, okay, what if I've seen Kamoshida's palace in Persona 3, who else is out there, right? Like what else is out there? That's a cool idea. Or, you know, with Metaphor, the kind of main thrust of, okay, well, we gotta, you know, win this like election or whatever. How do we do that? Like, what are these like trials that we can do?
We're on the campaign trail.
Yeah, we're on the campaign trail. Yeah, get on the bus. Let's go. And so like, I think all of that is really compelling. In every single one of those, like to varying degrees, but in all of them, like character is compelling. Like all of your companions are rounded, complex people who like you can invest time with and be like, I got to get to know this person more. And like, you know, I'd say some of them are better than others. Like there's some flops for sure among their like all of their games, right? But there's like standouts in some of these games where it's like, that is unbelievable that they're able to do this kind of character writing. Yeah. And so it feels like they've hit on a formula that like they're just gonna keep hammering on, you know, like, and I don't know that there's a lot of like limits to good character writing. You know, like,
yeah, they have a good handle on it, it seems.
Yeah. I think in comparison to something like wanting to in every game define like a new standard for visual fidelity or mechanical complexity, that's a hard thing to top when you go from one game to another. Whereas like if you just have really, really good character writing and really good characters in a compelling world, like that's usually going to hit. Right? Like that's what hits in every medium is like writing a good story and having compelling people in it. And so like, I feel like Final Fantasy should maybe take a cue out of Atlas's book and be like, you know, let's make our A plot important, but maybe put a deeper focus on the people in these games. Sure. Because it feels like that's what they're missing a lot of the time, you know, like I feel like 16 and 15 are both examples of like, this could have used way more character stuff and just like better writing in general. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Again, kind of thinking about this also compared to like Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest is like so pared back in its like mechanical stuff. Sure. But it's the same. It's kind of relying on the similar stuff, right? Of like the world being this kind of enchanting fairy tale almost. And similar stuff with the characters, right? Like getting to know who these people are and what they want and their desires and stuff like that. Yeah. I just feel like Final Fantasy could take some cool lessons from Atlas. Yeah, I feel like Final Fantasy really focuses on bombastic story. Yeah. But if I don't care about the characters, like I'm not going to care when something bad happens to them, and it's not going to make the story that you have spent so much time making so intense and cinematic hit as well, you know? So yeah, I totally agree. You have to make people care about the characters, or, you know, what happens is, you know, one of my big pet peeves is when they kill a character off in a game or a movie or a show. And it's like, someone that they've never really made me care about. And it's just like, I know you want me to feel sad right now, but I just don't feel much, right? It makes those moments hit so much harder when you care about the characters, when something bad happens to them or something good happens to them, right? Yeah. So even then, it could be, you know, a more basic story you're telling, but you have to get people invested with the characters. You're right. Yeah. And like, it doesn't even take that long, right? No. I just got a scene, people who have played this will know, but I got a scene between the kind of 3-person party and Maria, where Maria like ran off to the church.
Maria.
And like it's just brutal in there, you know? Like, and you know how each character is feeling. Like Maria's got her shit going on, but that's like all of the characters also have made mention of like, I feel bad too. Like I feel some responsibility for the situation we're in now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing. That's amazing shit.
That story just keeps on being sad.
Yes. Yeah.
So far,
I'm sure.
It's rough.
Yeah, but I like in the way that like Resident Evil, this is going to be a weird comparison, but like in the way that Resident Evil Village was a fun like romp through genre of like, here are each one of these little genres. I feel like the power of something like these Atlas stories is that you can kind of visit a bunch of different genres in these like S-Link companion quest lines, right?
Sure.
Where they focus on like one thing, right? Like Stroll's trying to honor his people, right? And figure out what to do with his people, despite the fact that like, you know, nobody has any money, nobody's like respecting him or his house anymore.
Yeah.
But like, you know, the Maria thing is a totally different experience, right? Like her storyline is totally different. And so is everybody else's. And so you get these fun, I don't know, parallel genres running at any given moment that whenever you see one, you're like, oh shit, I'm going back to the widowed person now who has this like wild backstory, or I'm going to the like igniter chick who has a dog, you know, like
she sure does have a dog, Chase.
And so like all of that is just like, it's such a weird thing to be able to mix all of those flavors together, but like it really works. It really, really works.
Also, when I saw that dog the first time, I'm like, what the fuck is that?
That ain't no dog.
And then she says, this is a dog. And I'm like, no, that is not a dog. I looked at a lot of things in this fantasy world, but that is not a doggy.
That is no dog. Yeah.
It is not a doggy.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very good video game.
The game is good.
Game is good. I think if you play another Atlas game, I think you will find similar stuff to enjoy, even if like the setting is not exactly the same.
Yeah, I think for the same reason that the tutorial was boring for you, I thought it was very good for me.
Sure.
Because that whole entire tutorial was essentially like a demo that I downloaded.
Right, yes, yeah.
So it just did a really good job of giving me enough freedom to not feel like I'm on rails, but explained everything and introduced things at a steady enough clip to where I understood why things were set out and laid out this way. Mm-hmm. And then especially like the just couple of days you have to like do random side quests before you go into the mausoleum.
Right.
I was like, okay, I get this now. This makes sense to me now in a way that I didn't, like Persona 5 did not convey that to me when I played it. So I'm interested to go back and playing other Persona games at this point. Yeah, I think that's going to be definitely something I'll work through probably through the next year or so.
Yeah. I think if you've never played an Atlas game, you will need one of these tutorials to work.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of a bizarre set of mechanics if you've never played one of these games before. Like the life sim stuff is like, I hadn't really encountered it prior to playing Persona 5. You know, like I wasn't like a big Tokimeki Memorial head or anything like that when I was younger. And like the closest thing I had was like maybe an Animal Crossing or like a Stardew Valley even. But there's so much shit in there that they're bringing together that I think if you've never played one, you kind of do need the onboarding experience. But for everybody else, I think at this point we're like, okay, all right, geez, this is a long tutorial, you know?
Yeah.
Because I felt the same way in Persona 5. I was like, oh, that rocked. It was really fun. And like they're introducing me to all of this stuff. But anybody else who had played a Persona game before was like, please let me off the chain. Like, please.
I'm ready.
Yeah. So I don't know if they would ever make the tutorial a little bit easier, right? Of like, hey, I've played one of these before, just give me the new shit, right? You know, every time I got back to fucking Thomas More's house in this game, I was like, I get it, dude. Like, please, you're the Persona guy. It's okay. I get it. And so now whenever I go back, I'm like, okay, great. We can talk archetypes or whatever. But prior to that, I was like, please let me out of here.
Please let me out of your home, sir. I don't wish to be here. But do you pet the cat?
Yes, I pet the cat. Of course I pet the cat.
Every time?
Not sort of some barbarian, David.
But every time, though?
Most times, yeah.
Not every time, though.
Not every time. Sometimes I'm in a rush, David.
Wow. In a rush?
Yeah.
I know how the time works in this game now, Chase. You're not in a rush. You could pet that cat.
No, man, I got other shit to do.
Wow. If it was a dog, you'd probably pet it each time.
Maybe. It's hard to know. Parallel reality.
I won't tell Bruce. He'll be heartbroken.
Tell Bruce. He needs to know who I am.
Tell
David.
Bruce it was me.
I want him to know.
This game's great. I love it.
Yes.
I need more of it. constantly injected straight into my veins.
It is bizarre, the appetite that shows up whenever you play one of these games and you're like, I will take whatever amount of this you have.
It's impressive how hooked I am. I don't usually I don't think this might be the most hooked I've been on an RPG since KOTOR.
I was going to say Divinity. Divinity was the other one that like you really fell headlong into.
So I guess not a CRPG.
Okay. Yeah.
Like a third person RPG.
Yeah.
I think it's been KOTOR.
Because I was going to say, you played a lot of Baldur's Gate last year, baby.
I played a lot of Baldur's Gate. I played a lot of Divinity. But I feel like those are a little bit different than this type of more like really turn-based as opposed to like strategic positioning of my characters to do certain things.
Yeah.
Right? But no, I see what you're saying. Good game.
Good game.
Anyways, Chase, what have you been playing besides Metaphor Refantazio?
I got two games that I'd love to talk to you about, David. Mm-hmm. Would you like farming or Monke?
You got to start me with Monke.
All right, we'll start with Monke.
You got to start with Monke.
I've been playing a game that was suggested to us called Ancestors, the Humankind Odyssey.
Monke.
And just so everybody knows, whenever I say monkey, I'm definitely saying it with an E at the end. Monkey. Instead of no Y. Yeah, I want the E on there.
Is it 2 E's or 1 E?
One. Monkey.
Monke. Got it.
This was suggested to us by listener Cameron, who had said Ancestors is a prime example of strange gaming. It isn't bad, but it is very strange and extremely committed to every design decision they made in a truly wild way, which I agree with, having played Ancestors now. This is a weird game. I think survival is like the correct genre here.
Sure.
But you are playing as Monke.
Humanity?
Pretty much, just like super old humanity, right? Like what the description says, you survive your evolution in Neogene Africa starting 10 million years ago.
Whoa.
So the game starts, and by the way, this is made by Panache Digital Games. So cool. Just heads up. You start the game and you get like a cutscene of a monkey with a like tiny baby monkey on its back, and monkey gets killed and baby monkey has to go hide. Mm-hmm. And you start playing as another monkey from presumably this like tribe of monkeys, this clan, this group. And you have to like go use your senses to find the little monkey, right?
Sure.
And it's a very weird system because you have to like stand still and press like B to use your senses. And so it's like you can start sniffing or hearing or anything like that. Or you can use your intelligence
to sniff.
But yeah, this is the Sniffer Man simulator.
All right.
Or you can use your intelligence to try and like identify different shit. So like you as a monkey have to be like, okay, I've sniffed that kind of plant before. I know what plant that is. Mm-hmm. So you go and find this monkey and you save it and you bring it back to the clan and it's like, shit, we lost one of our own. This is a bummer. But now I gotta like continue to survive. And I mean, it sort of plays out like kind of a typical survival game in that like you are largely trying to like get enough food and water to survive, trying to not get killed by whatever hostile forces are in the area. Again, like this is 10 million years ago. We got birds who are big, big birds.
Big bird.
Big birds.
He's there, you're telling me.
Big Bird himself is here and he's here to kick your whole ass.
I would be terrified.
Yeah, I would be terrified.
It's a big bird.
That's a big ass bird. And anyway, so partially that is similar. And I think a lot of other survival games would include some sort of tech tree for you to advance yourself.
What is this, Monkey Tree?
This is Monkey Tree, where you are like literally the way that they contextualize this is that it's like the synapses in your brain are connecting to each other. And so
making
you're like
new monkeys?
You will
better
like,
monkeys?
definitely making new monkeys. Like, I mean, partially making better ones because like another mechanic is that you like genetically reinforce certain things. So like if you as a parent monkey eat a bunch of berries that are like maybe not so good for your tummy, but you manage to like eat them and be okay, then like your child has a better chance of like being able to eat berries, no problem. Right.
So it's encouraging you to maybe try things that are poisonous, but just like a little poisonous.
Sometimes, yeah. Like a big part of the game is inspecting. you'll go and like grab a new thing and press X and the monkey will look at a rock like, I've never seen this before.
Oh my God.
It's also hilarious because like anything that is unidentified will have like an effect on it that it like the monkey seems to perceive it as like a threat almost. Like when you see like a snake in the forest, it's got this like kind of like effect over it of essentially trying to communicate like, I don't know what this is and it's scary. And so like the same thing will happen if you just encounter like a new piece of grass that you haven't sniffed before.
Like, oh my God, this grass.
What is this,
it
dude?
could kill you.
That's really the weirdest thing about this is that it is kind of grounding me in the weird experience it must have been to be one of these fucking apes, you know, like of like you got a little bit of brains, right? Like it's in there, but it's got to be pretty bizarre to just have like nothing, you know, like I'm over here in one of the big like last night I was playing and I discovered the ability to change hands, like to take a rock that is in one hand and move it to my other hand. Like that is part of the tech tree.
You crossed midline.
Yes. And one of the implications of that is that now you can hold two things, right? And so
you unlocked dual wielding for the monkey.
Next
step is John Halo.
Yeah, Master Chief is in this one. But an implication is that you can use like two items and try to like do something with them, right?
Make fire, baby.
I actually don't know if there's fire in this game.
Whoa.
One of the earlier things is that you can make like kind of a pokey spear. And so if you have like a big stick and you use a rock on it, you can kind of like chisel it into a spear, right?
Sure.
Again, Monkey's like, whoa, what is this, my dude?
I'm really cooking now.
I'm cooking now. Stick. Yeah, like there was another thing. It's like there's a big rocks that I kept finding. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? And then I brought a stick over and used it as like a lever to like pull the rock up. And like my monkey synapses went fucking crazy. They're like, whoa, this is new technology, you know?
This is good shit.
And so it's a weirdly grounding experience of how confusing it must have been when you're like just burgeoning on intelligence.
Sure.
Like as a species, you're like on the edge of discovering new shit. That has got to be such a strange thing of just like you're looking at a stick and you're like, what the fuck can I do with this? Like, I feel like I'm so close to being able to figure something out. And then like you just get it sharp enough and you're like, okay, I think I get it.
I got this.
And so there's like so many of these mechanics that's just like, it feels like it goes on forever, the amount of like shit that you can do. Like, you know, another example is that like you almost always want a young monkey on your back, like a child on your back.
Oh.
So that it can like learn all the things that you're learning too.
The young monkey bonus.
The monkey buff. Yeah. The young buff.
The young Buffy?
The young Buffy.
The young monkey. Sorry, continue.
This is the Diddy Kong buff. And so like, you know, there's that. If you every now and then you'll run into like a monkey in the wild, like one that is not part of your like group. And if you want them to join, usually you have to like, or the ones that I've encountered, you have to like solve a problem for them. And in like an Atlas game, that would be a long quest line. But this one is like, the monkey is itchy. What, like, how can you solve that? Yes. And so like, you have to figure out like, which of these plants do I rub on myself to stop me from itching so much?
Now I'm imagining that it's like Dora the Explorer or Blue's Clues, but with monkeys.
I mean,
and then Dora pops out, what should I use?
It seems simple on its face, but when sometimes I'm rolling up to a monkey like, dude, I don't know what to do for you. Like, what is the problem you're experieing?
Your problems are too great for me, sir.
Yeah. I truly have not figured out how to mate yet, which like, apple don't fall far from the tree. But
cell phone.
But like, essentially they said like, you have to groom like somebody, like, you know, go and pick the bugs off their back.
Whoa, okay.
And I keep trying to do that to all my fucking group members and they always brush me off. I'm like, dude, we got to have more kids in this tribe. I've already killed like 3 monkeys by accident.
You're doing it too hard. Gotta be gentle with it, man.
I accidentally created the first monkey incel in my game by accident.
You didn't. It's you. It's your fault. You did this to us.
Oh, God.
How'd you make an incel?
Nobody wants to have sex with him. I don't know.
Sure.
He's involuntarily celibate.
He doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Do you have a monkey neared? Is that what's going on? Do you have a monkey trilby?
Yeah. Yeah, he wears a really sick fedora. I don't know why the fucking female monkeys aren't jumping on him.
It's just a leaf fedora.
I haven't quite figured out Hot Topic technology quite yet. But yeah, it's a pretty fun game, if not very odd.
Yeah.
Again, just like, I think the normal pace of survival games is not here, right? Like,
yeah,
this is so much slower than like Subnautica or something like that. Like, I truly feel like an ape in the jungle trying to figure out how to survive, you know?
It's kind of fun.
It is like that. I think that's part of the appeal. And they say in the very beginning, like, we tried to make this as accurate as possible, which I think is pretty fun, but also comes with some trade-offs of like, this is hard as hell, you know?
Sure.
And they're also trying not to give you very much, like not describe to you how to play the game. And so you are supposed to be like, I am lost. And that is kind of the point here. But it makes all of the like weird synapse stuff very fun, because suddenly I'm like, damn, dude, we just killed this snake together. That's cool as hell.
Good job, people.
Yeah, because we all got spears and shit. And so like, I think there will probably be a point where I'm like, I'm going to look up like a guide to see, you know, just how to get a little bit farther than we are right now. But yeah, it's weirdly fun. It's a very bizarre game. You know, is this on the level of Subnautica or like Valheim or something like that? Probably not. You know, like I wouldn't say that, but it is a cool experience. And like, I also feel so detached from that part of humanity. You know, like just like old ape shit. Like, I do not feel like, oh, we evolved from monkeys. Like, yeah, sure, buddy. Like, listen, I believe you, but like, that feels like a different reality.
Creationist Chase is coming out right now.
We rode dinosaurs, David. There was no evolution. No, not true. It feels like such a detached part of our history. Like, of course, you know, just because like my dumb fucking monkey brain can't understand the fact that at some point this is not the form that it took. And so like, it's kind of cool to experience that, even if it is just kind of like some kind of basic mechanics and shit, because it's interesting. Like, it's cool. Like this happened, right? Like, this is a part of history that is nearly impossible to read about, because it's like, monkeys wasn't riding. They don't know how to write something down.
These monkeys weren't riding.
No, they were not.
No.
But it is cool that like it gives you a peek into what this could have been like. Yeah. Which I personally like. I think it's pretty fun.
I've always been interested in trying this game, and I think that you're making me want to try it more. Yeah. This sounds very unique.
It is. It's like a video game experience I don't know that I've had in a lot of other places, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of firing on not exactly the same thing, but like a similar wavelength to like Spore or something like that, where like experiencing evolutionary progress is like kind of a thrilling experience. And like, you know, I think Spore promised a lot more than it was able to deliver, but I think that their Ancestors is smart to focus very closely on like, what is the day-to-day like for this group of apes? Again, just because it makes it a much more personal experience. Like, you can get like, yeah, I went out and found a new kind of stick today and came back and drank the water from the river that we live next to and then went to bed. And like, it also kind of shows you like rudimentary monkey dreams, where it's like dreaming about like other apes and like something you saw that day and stuff.
Does it really?
It does, yeah.
That's awesome.
Which is also incredible, because I'm like, that must have been so confusing as an ape, of like waking up and being like, what just happened? What was that?
What was I seeing? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Dreams.
It's incredible. So that's Ancestors. I really wish it went on sale a little bit more often, because like, I've had my eye on it for so long and it just steadfastly remained $40. And I was like, come on, man. Like, there was a Steam sale recently and I was like, for sure it's going to drop here. But no dice. Wow. I say that, David, currently there's a sale on the PlayStation Store and it's $8.
$8. I feel like I've seen it on Game Pass or PlayStation Plus before.
It's possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
If like, I think you should check this out again, just because we got suggested to play it, but like
$8, that's nothing. Yeah.
You should give it a look. That sale ends on the 16th. So scoop it up, baby.
Mull it over.
Yeah.
What is the end of this game? What do you?
No idea.
Where do you get to?
Hot Topic.
Do you end up being? Yeah. Do you end up being the incel in Hot Topic, a barista in Brooklyn with a man bun?
Yeah.
No, opining about being able to move back out to the countryside and farm.
Buying Asking Alexandria shirts at Hot Topic and drinking Orange Julius in the mall. That's evolutionary conclusion to me.
That's peak humanity right there.
Yeah, that's Ancestors. You should give it a look. I think you might like it.
Yeah, monkeys.
Monkey stuff. The other game that I've been playing is a game called Luma Island, David.
You said this is a farming game?
This is a farming game.
All right.
This was a game that I checked out in, I think it was like one of the Steam Next Fests demos that came out a while ago. And Luma Island was one of the ones that I was like, hey, I think this is like a pretty good video game. Like played the demo and was like, I think I'm in for the most part. And so it like recently came out, I think like a couple of weeks ago now. And I checked it out and I'm glad that I did because it is very good. So I realized kind of recently that like, I think that there's a lot of these games that don't fit neatly into the like Stardew Valley box. Because I think on first blush, you would be like, this is a farming game, so it's a Stardew Valley like. But I think it's probably closer to like a Story of Seasons or like something like that where combat plays a little bit bigger of a role. And like exploration plays a bigger role. So yeah, let me just describe the loop. You've probably heard this before. You move to a new town and you have a new plot of land and you can farm on that land.
Hell yeah.
I will say the game does not push you super hard initially to be a farmer specifically, which is kind of nice. It's again, just like any change in the genre assumptions is always kind of a welcome reprieve for me.
Yeah. Because
I do like that stuff, but like I always hoped that like, you know, can we not stick exactly to what Stardew Valley was doing? But this one's like, it asks you initially to essentially pick like a vocation. And so, you know, farming is one of those, but it could also be like brewing or like archaeology. Or like jewel crafting and shit like that.
Wow.
And, you know, a lot of those will rely on not just farming, but also being able to like go into these like dungeons, kind of mines and, you know, dig shit up and also beware of the like spiders in the mines and shit like that. Or do the archaeology thing relies a little bit more on like going into these bespoke, I think dungeons is still the right word there, where it's like, it's not randomly generated. It's like an authored experience that you kind of run through that's, you know, maybe closer to like a Zelda or something like that for 10, 15 minutes where it's like kind of light puzzling. There's a couple of enemies here and there. And you're mostly just trying to like get some artifacts from the, this like dungeon. There's a better word for it. From this like archaeological run, I guess. Which is all really cool because all of those like vocations allow you to like make different shit that you can sell in town for money. Again, just so it's not like you have to play as the farmer to make money. And so all of that's like really cool. I find that like a cool twist on this idea. Also, the visual style is really neat. It's like a 3D kind of like, I wouldn't say 3D, 2D, like in the way of like an Octopath, but your character model is 3D and a lot of other shit is 3D. But when you like zoom in close enough, things look a little pixely, like the textures of shit look kind of pixely. And so it lends itself this kind of, I don't know, it's just an interesting art style that I find very cozy and like charming in a way. The town itself in Luma Island is also like really, really nice. It looks like just a very great place to hang out, which I like a lot. It is why I liked like Fields of Mystria and shit for similar reasons where it's like, this looks like a very nice location.
Yeah.
I don't think it raises to the same level of like achievement that Fields of Mystria did in its characterization of like the people in the town, but just the visual representation of it I found pretty good. I will say that like this one seems to be more focused on the mechanical side of the kind of farming genre. I know that different people come to different things for these games, right? Like Coral Island, I think that was late last year, was all about like, look at these fucking hot people that you can hang out with, right?
Yeah,
and that was very
hot.
Yeah, just like obscenely hot. And this one, like the characters are cool, but like I haven't really dug into like hanging out with anybody. You know, it seems much more like you know these people as a way to advance your like your specialization, right? Which is like cool. But I think that if someone's coming to this game for the like character work, that's not really the thing this game is doing, or at least the stuff that I have been leaning on, you know?
Sure.
It's much more about like, I'm going to get a profession. I'm going to collect these little like Lumas. They're like kind of like farm Pokemon almost.
I'm surprised that Nintendo hasn't trademarked Luma.
I was also a little surprised about that, but I feel like it's like a general enough word that it wouldn't necessarily be like naming it Rosalina Island or something like that. But yeah, it's essentially they're just like little guys that you make, or like you discover these eggs and you can hatch them and they like help you out with shit, you know? which is cool and cute. They're all very cool. I was hoping it would be like almost a like Chow Garden Viva Pinata experience, but it seems to not be that very much. It's kind of just like you have these guys now.
They're just hanging out.
They're just hanging out, and you like feed them, which gives you like these little like orbs that you can use to upgrade shit. And so it's like cute and kitschy, but again, I think all of it just kind of culminates in a feeling of it's mostly about the mechanical experience. It feels like it's all kind of in service of the mechanics, which is fun because you have these like zones that you can unlock over time of like, all right, here's the forest zone that you have to like build the bridge to get there, and that unlocks like different kinds of wood and stone and like ore that you can use to like be better at jewel crafting or brewing or whatever. Or, you can upgrade your tools and shit with different like stuff from those zones, which thereby allow you to upgrade the gondola that gets you up into the mountains and stuff like that. And so you can feel the kind of gaminess of it all, but I found that loop pretty satisfying. It's not a game that I can play for just like hours and hours and hours because I kind of start to feel the loop of it eventually, but it is something that I continually have been returning to. And so I think that like it's still working for me in that way. So yeah, I think like looking, it has made me realize that like I need to put some time into like Rune Factory and Story of Seasons because those games have been doing this stuff a long time. And I think that like my comparison point for farming games is almost always Stardew Valley. And like, I know that this game is taking influences for more than just that. And so if anything, that's kind of the big takeaway for me is like, I got to play some other shit because I think like it's relying on other influences. So yeah, I'm having a good time. I sort of suspect that there's like an end to this game in the way that there is not necessarily in Stardew Valley, where like you can kind of just keep going. Like, again, because everything is culminating in like advancement and achievement, like eventually I will finish all of those lines of quests and like
you will fully advance and achieve. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so like, I think that that's fine, to be honest. Like so many of these games are meant to be forever games. And like, I don't need them all to be like that.
Yeah.
Like I've already played this for, like 10 hours or something like that. Like I don't need it to be a game that I play for another 100 or something.
Could be though.
It could be, but I'm happy with it just being like 5 or 10. That's also okay.
Absolutely.
Like what does the farming roguelike look like,
Good question.
So yeah, I'm kind of excited to see like, how does this end? Like what happens after that? Also just like totally scratches the Dark Cloud itch for me of upgrading a town over time because you can like, there was like an earthquake early in the game and it's like, you need to like fix the benches and the lamps and stuff like that. I'm like, that's great. I love to contribute to a town.
What a wholesome man. Just wants to contribute to his society.
Pay my fucking taxes.
Tax me, baby. Samuel, tax me.
Tax me. Create a social safety net for God's sakes.
That ain't happening.
I know. Let's make one. Let's make a social safety net.
I want a social safety bed of spikes, please, actually.
That's pretty much what we got going on. Like, if you lay on it the right way, it doesn't hurt, but like any other approach is so bad.
Yep. Social safety alligators.
Yeah, you can make friends with the crocs if they're not hungry, but like step the wrong way and it's fucking medical bankruptcy time, baby.
Exactly. You just got to make sure enough other people fall in there with you so that the crocs eat them. Right. And then you can climb your way out.
We need a single payer croc. Just one crocodile that we can all throw some meat to every now and then.
He'll keep us all safe. That croc.
Yeah. Fucking medical bankruptcy is so stupid. Why is that a thing?
Hey, man. Got to pay the bills somehow.
Not like this. Not with the crocodiles. Not with the crocodile pit.
That's a new thing in hospitals. Like, well, you can either declare a medical bankruptcy or we can feed you the crocodiles. Those are your options.
An irradiated crocodile pit that if you go in and come out, you don't owe us squat.
If the gods have smiled upon you, you can make it out of the croc pit alive.
Yeah.
Then we call it even.
Or essentially describing Squid Games, unfortunately.
Yeah. Or just trial by combat.
Yeah, true.
I'm innocent. I don't have debt. I beat this crocodile.
Speaking of the unjust ways that our society is structured, welcome to the Manga Minute, David.
Oh, here it is.
I read a manga called The Girl from the Other Side.
Whoa, okay.
This was recommended to, not me directly, but just the listeners of Girl Mode, which I think it was Willa who suggested it. And I read it and it was good. It is this like kind of dark fantasy isn't the right word because it's not dark in like gore or anything, but like literally it is dark on the page. Like most of
it's
most
hard
of the
to
panels
see.
are it's quite dark, and that's intentional, I think. But it's this like world where it's kind of sectioned into what the world of this manga calls insiders and outsiders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the insiders live in this like walled city and shit. And there is this like kind of terrifying curse that is going around where if you are touched by an outsider, then you are cursed to turn into one of them. And it's like these kind of scary beasts that you will like turn into. They're like very kind of demonic looking in a way. It's the first thing you're hit with. And then immediately after that, you're introduced to this character called Shiva, who is this like young girl. And she's clearly outside of the walls, hanging out with clearly an outsider who like you think is like, oh, is this going to be bad? Like, is this the thing? And then the outsider she's named Teacher is like, hey, what are you doing out here? You like, I told you can't be like falling asleep on trees outside. Come on, like, let's go home. Let's like have a tea party and like hang out and shit like that. And so just immediately being like, the world is not what you think it is, right? Like the stakes of this world are clearly backwards in some way. It's really phenomenal. I think it has a lot to say about like parenting and being a parent and being a child. And then also just like the process of accepting parts of yourself that you deem like cursed in some way or dark in a way that you like have a hard time accepting.
Sure.
That I think is it's done really well. It's not like super on the nose a lot of the time. And I think they're kind of like wrapping it in enough of a metaphor that like it was a real joy to experience. And I think like really culminates in the end. I was like,
ending.
Yes, I was with it for the most part, like having a good time reading along, but like the thematic stuff really like crystallized within the last like chapter of
Gotcha.
it.
Is it pretty short?
No, it wasn't super short. It took me like a handful of days. I think it's like 9 or 10 volumes and there's like, a handful of chapters in there. It's not gigantic by any measure, but like, it took me like the better part of a week to read through.
Gotcha. Cool.
Anyway, that's The Girl from the Other Side, and that was the Manga Minute, David.
Hell yeah. Manga Minute.
It's quick. It's fast. And yet another segment, David. This will bring me to my Podtimistic
Too many
thing of the
segments.
Week. Yeah, we're finally hitting the variety show part of the video game variety show.
It's happening.
This week, David, it's weird mechanics.
Sure.
It's sticking to your guns with weird mechanics. Monke got a lot of weird mechanics in it, but I also think about like Heavy Rain or something like that of like turning everything over or like physically having to open a door. Like that's weird and maybe stupid, but also kind of amazing. The eye toy, the Kinect, weird mechanics, all sorts of bizarre shit. Even the Helldivers thing from early in the year where like you had to like press a button combo in order to like arm a bomb is like so silly and stupid, but just like that's fun and ridiculous.
the Jet Li game.
Yes. God, the gun one. What was that
Red
called?
Steel was the gun one. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, although Red Steel is also an amazing example of this too. Rise to Honor?
Rise to Honor was a Jet Li one. Yeah.
Yes. Where you had to like point your body in the right direction to like
you
hit
used
someone.
both control sticks, both analog sticks to fight.
Yes. Yeah.
I played the game. I can't even remember how I played it. It was so confusing, disorienting.
Yeah, a very bizarre experience. We have to play Rise to Honor. I feel like we've been like we talk about that game so often.
We mention it quite often. I have it. I'm ready to go.
Oh, damn. You've got the OG. You've got the physical copy.
I have the physical copy of that game and a PlayStation 3. I'm set. Get on my level.
Yeah, I need to. I mean, fucking Dewey's Adventure. That's a weird mechanic.
Dewey's Adventure. Yeah.
I feel like
anything could be a weird mechanic.
Yes. Yeah. The Wii got a lot of those weird mechanics.
The Wii has a lot of those. WarioWare.
Yes. Yeah, lots of weird mechanics in there.
Weird mechanics in those games. Sticking to their guns.
Sticking to their guns. The fucking solar panel on Boktai. Weird ass mechanic.
Power washing simulator.
Power washing simulator. That's bizarre. The skateboard on Yanya Kabbalista, the skateboarding game on PlayStation 2 that you attach to the DualShock.
I forgot about that one.
We covered that for the show, I think.
We did.
A long time ago. Yeah. Weird mechanics. Love that shit.
Love them.
Do you have something fueling your sense of optimism, David?
I do. And I've said this probably a handful of times before, but a good voiceover, a good narrator, I guess I should say.
Absolutely.
I enjoy more as a narrator in Metaphor Refantazio. I don't know if you've gotten to this part yet, but when you are going around on your gauntlet runner and it's like time is passing as you're traveling to a new destination, he'll just come in with like this very eloquent and soft-spoken, but like very flowery language way of describing what they are seeing and what they are doing, like he's writing it in his book, right?
That rocks.
And there'll be like some just string orchestral violins going on in the background, be like, as the weary travelers pulled into the swamp, they heard the sounds of crickets around them in the cool dewy night. As the confident runner slowly came to a halt, they felt the need to sleep and recharge for the next day and the tribulations to come. And it's just so relaxing and nice. It's really quite pleasant.
Yeah.
It's a nice reprieve from some of the more intense things that you're doing in the game.
Yeah.
Totally.
Totally.
And they kind of nail it with more, and the violins in the back are really good. Really good.
I mean, yeah, any good narrator really takes it to the next level.
Yeah. I think I've mentioned this one for Baldur's Gate and for...
I was just going to say, yeah.
Oh, what was the one with the cop?
The one with the cop?
With cop with amnesia.
Max Payne?
No. I mean,
Does he have
not.
amnesia?
You're right, but it's not that one. Where it's a CRPG.
A cop with amnesia that's a CRPG.
Yeah, and the kids bully you and you die. You've played this game, Disco Elysium.
Oh my God. Holy shit. Yeah. I would not have been able to pull that out, but like my brain was so far away from getting to Disco Elysium.
How could I have described it better for you?
I don't know, because that's it, right? The cop with amnesia.
I thought you would really get it when I said the kids bully you and you die.
Yeah.
Because that part really stuck with me.
If you say Kim Kutaragi, then you would have gotten me there. But
I couldn't think of any words. But yes,
fair. Yeah.
he's a great character.
Yeah, all of the narration in that game having like different sort of like affectations is incredible.
Yeah.
Especially in your like internal monologue, right? Like all that's really great.
Yeah, the narrator went wild in that game.
Amelia Tyler, obviously in Baldur's Gate 3, like unbelievable shit, just crushing the game. We must have talked about this before because I think I'm going through the same kind of like, well, Bastion was good, right? And like Stanley Parable's good. Like we must have covered this at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. A narrator, really good.
Hell yeah.
Brings it to the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You want to move on to our main thing, dude?
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Welcome to Good Games. It's a segment where we talk about the okayest games of yesteryear and gush all the things that we love about them. We got suggested.
Don't shut my Haktua down.
I must. We're going to get copyright claimed from Haktua girl herself.
Oh, has she written it?
Probably. I have to imagine. I can't imagine she's copywriting claiming for simply uttering the phrase Haktua anymore, because that would seem like a pretty tyrannical reign over that particular phrase.
I summon Haktua, the Forbidden One.
The right arm of Haktua. Haktodia?
Haktodia. Obliterate.
We got suggested to play a game called Blue Fire.
Sure did.
This was suggested to us by two people, in fact. I think not the first time that's happened, but it is a rarity and it is nice.
Cool.
The first person who suggested it was Crawdaddy. Thank you, Crawdaddy.
Thank you, Crawdaddy.
Who said, really cool combination Zelda-like / 3D platformer. It has been a while since I played and don't really remember the story being particularly notable. Combat is definitely serviceable, but not as tight as similar games. I think this game really shines as a 3D platformer, though. The movement feels fluid and satisfying. The game also has some really fun, challenging, quote, void, unquote, sections that offer more in-depth platforming challenges. One of those games where when I messed up something, I knew what I did wrong, and that was probably my fault.
Kind of like how you read that.
Right, and it was my fault. Usually I cut out the parts of me fucking up the sentence, but David, you have ensured that I cannot.
Sorry, yeah, that one's staying in.
Felt like its length was right around what I was looking for. Also didn't overstay its welcome, which was about 10 hours. So thank you, Crawdaddy. It was also suggested to us by Rob.i, which I want everybody just remember that name for just a moment.
Whoa, okay.
It'll make sense in the hot stats section.
Rob.i
had to say, this is a game that a friend recommended to me after picking it up. I couldn't put it down. It's got some Celeste / Super Meat Boy DNA with the really challenging void levels, and the characters and world building give me a bit of Zelda. I don't see this game talked about ever, so I wanted to throw it on your guys' radar. Thank you, Rob.i.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Both.
It is correct. I had never heard of this game. Had you, David?
No.
I was a little bit surprised about that because, like, again, I feel like I know about games like this that come out pretty often.
Yeah.
I also think it's pretty rare for a game to attempt to do the 3D Zelda-like stuff. Like, you see a lot of games that are doing the, like, 2D Zelda approach.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's much more rare to see one being like, let's make it like Ocarina of Time. You know?
Yeah.
I think this game has a lot in common with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like Pseudo Regalia is the only other one that like fairly recently I was like, this is like a Zelda game.
Is that the one with the goat?
Yeah, the thick goat. Yeah.
Thick goat.
That
Apparently that's what I remembered.
I mean, it's a pretty
Sorry,
memorable
world.
part of the video game. Not the good platforming, but the thickness.
Mm-hmm.
Can I hit you with some hot stats about this game?
Please.
Hot stats.
Cool. So this came out February 4th of 2021 for PC and Switch. So far as I could tell, both of them listed the same time, which I feel like is rare. I feel like usually you get an indie game on PC first and then eventually it comes to Switch, but seems to have launched on both. David, this game was made by Rob.i Studios, spelled R-O-B-I. Rob.i, you might say. Whoa.
Is this some collusion right now?
Big Rob.i is colluding to Big Robbie is colluding
Big Robbie
to make us play this game.
With singular Rob.i to make us play this.
Got to follow the money, baby. They made this and also a more recent game called Solar Raiders. That I don't think that one's out yet, but it looks cool. It looks neat. I do have a review of this game from the outlet Jeux Video, which is an outlet out of France.
Is it?
And yeah, they're French. It's going to be so funny when we actually look into them and they're like French Canadian. We've just been fucking lying this whole time.
Whoa, they're from Montreal. It could be.
It could be. That's the thing. Like it's in French, but like there are more places than just France that speak French.
They colonized.
Yeah, they did. There's a lot of French around the world. Mm-hmm. I have a review from Jeux Video. I took their review and I translated it through Google, one language into another, eventually arriving back out in English, which I'm going to read for you now, David.
Yeah, let's hear it.
See if you can feel the presence of Christ in this one.
I thought that was part of the review.
No, not quite yet.
Right.
Blue Flame takes inspiration from everywhere and creates something unique about the characters and conclusion. Remembering their names is key. The module used in Windows is a simulation to see where the universe is going. Sometimes this can be a big problem, but there's always a price. He is a new spirit in your life. Of course, the Blue Fire raid is also challenging, and you want to get all your skills without missing out on the most important rewards before the timer runs out. Fast, well-written, and supported by an excellent DA and OST, the game offers an easy-to-skip experience. Unfortunately, sometimes unexpected behind-the-scenes failures of the systems, such as a loss of integrity, can occur. But what if you want the perfect balance of exercise and fun? He is very good, and they gave that a 16 out of 20.
Did they mention he with a capital H twice?
They did say, yes,
Wow.
They said he is very good and he is a new spirit in your life. I feel like there's some kind of born again references going on in this one.
They knew that you're a creationist, so they're like, we need to get this over to this guy.
Get this man some pictures of humans riding dinosaurs stat.
I also like it's a failure of integrity.
Yeah, really good.
Behind
my
the
favorite
scenes
is
failure.
mine is easy to skip experience.
That's a good one.
Which they seem to like this game. 16 out of 20 is a pretty good score.
Yeah. 18 out of 20?
16.
16? That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. Jeux Video is like over the course of us doing this show, they're a particularly harsh reviewer.
They're tough reviewers, yeah.
Yeah, so like whenever they give something like an okay grade, I'm like, that does actually mean something here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They called Fusion Frenzy the worst game on Xbox. That's crazy.
And I mean, is it good in the cold, harsh light of 2024?
No.
Is it the worst? I would be hard pressed to say it's the worst.
I bet there's some like Mountain Dew tie-in mini game that they put out that like is probably worse. Listen, Sneak King is a worse game than Fusion Frenzy.
Yeah.
That is on Xbox.
Sneak King is a king of a game, Chase, please.
I'm not disagreeing with you. It's a good game in the sense of this segment that we do.
Sure. It is a good game. Yeah.
What is Blue Fire, Dave?
Blue Fire is a third-person action platformer where you take on the role of a warrior of light and shadow who has to go through essentially what looks like a post-apocalyptic sort of castle-y old city essentially. So you're making your way and just discovering new items to make you stronger. You're slowly unraveling the story that's going on. You're getting power-ups. Yeah, you're just kind of trying to figure out what the heck is going on in this world. It feels almost very Hollow Knight-y in that way. Like you just get dumped right in.
Yeah, I definitely noticed the kind of Hollow Knight influence here. Although I don't think those games. When did Hollow Knight come out? Was that 2017? Yeah, 2017.
Yeah.
I guess there was enough time that could have been possible, but like I think you see it a little bit in the design of like the main character, just the proportions and the look of them, but also the small boy, and the mask. And yeah, the design of the world of this place just being kind of like haunted in a way, not like literally with ghosts, but just like it's very empty in a certain sense.
Yeah. Haunting.
In a way that Hollow Knight. Yeah. Haunting. Good game. Hunter? Good Gengar. What is this? So yeah, what did you think about this game, dude?
I enjoyed this game. I think all of the descriptions, like the comparisons that our listeners made were spot on. I definitely felt a lot of that, especially Celeste. It felt like the platforming sounded like 3D Celeste, especially with how the dash works. It's just like a straight ahead dash. You just get one jump, right? There's like little not power-ups, but things you can hit that are floating in the world that give you an extra dash or jump or whatever, which also feels very Celeste to me. So like 3D Celeste, especially in the little gauntlet worlds, which very interesting to me, those little challenge levels, because they almost felt like if they like inspired by shrines from Breath of the Wild, but instead of like hiding them throughout the world, they're just right there and they're pretty hard to miss. Like some of them are a little bit more hidden off the beaten path, but it's kind of hard to miss a core group of them.
There's certain ones where it seems like they want you to get at least
they want you in there. Yeah, because they also give you more health if you when you beat them. So I really enjoyed those, and I thought, the combat was fun. I would say it's not groundbreaking. It was serviceable, and it didn't like break the game or anything. I did like the parry essentially that you could do with the shield in this game. Always good to parry. I like that.
It reminds me a lot of the combat in Wind Waker almost.
I was about to say I know you're saying Ocarina of Time, but I think just with like how I guess the size of the character and the slightly cartoony art style really reminded me of Wind Waker in this game.
Yeah.
And the combat as well. A little bit more free flowing.
Totally. Yeah. I think it's smart that the game like puts an emphasis on platforming, because especially for games of that era, like 3D platformers were pretty fucking hard for people to figure out. Like, it was not an easy thing to do.
No.
And so I'm not surprised that like you see a lot of games like this. And like, I think Pseudo Regalia is another game in this genre where like they're sort of looking at like, what if we made a game that maybe could have come out on like, N64 GameCube or something like that, but tuned up the shit that was really hard then, right? Like camera control and platforming in a 3D space was like, that's hard as fuck. Like it's really challenging to do, and like just tighten that stuff up a little bit. I think you get kind of games that are in this genre where it's like, why does this feel so good, right? Like, why do those void levels feel so fun? It's just because, they've managed to figure out a version of a fun 3D platformer. I think Mario just had such a corner on that market for so long that like it was kind of hard to imagine anything outside of that. But you're right to call out the comparison to Celeste. It does feel like there's a certain amount of lessons that were learned from the 2D platformer era of like the 2010 to 2020 decade that are now being applied to games like this.
When you die, you're immediately back to a pretty close checkpoint. You just do it again. Love that. Yeah,
it is really kind, and I think it reflects a lot more of how games are built now. Again, there's just not this holdover from the arcade days, and so like it's nice to experience something that isn't quite as punishing as Pac-Man or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with the Zelda comparison totally. I think like the visual design of the spaces kind of feel Zelda-y, just like the dungeon design, which is like a compliment for sure. Like Zelda's a very well-designed game, and so it's cool to walk into a space and be like, I think I know where I need to go, or at least where I need to go explore to figure out like what to do in here.
Yeah.
Which is neat. It's cool.
Yeah, I was never like lost or confused about what to do. It was always pretty clear. And even when there was like multiple paths to go, they would end a path that wasn't like the actual path to go down pretty quick. So it was pretty obvious, like, okay, there's something down here and I got that thing. Now it's time to head back to where they really want me to go. So I think that's a tricky thing to be able to nail in a game like this with 3D exploration.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. All in all, like definitely like simple for sure. Like there's nothing in here that I was like mind blowing, like, holy shit, I've never seen that done in a game before. But I think all the parts together make something that is like pretty satisfying to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
I truly have no idea what's going on in the story.
Same.
Which I think is the point. Like, I don't think you're supposed to get a lot, but like there was like that dialogue in the beginning with like the dude who shows up and he's like, you gotta go get all the voids, bro. And then I'll see you again. I'm like, okay.
Get voided, bro.
Get voided, bro. Get absolutely voided. Which like, you know, I think that is also in a way a Zelda approach to storytelling, which is like pretty sparse, all things considered. I know that it was more intentional in like the Ocarina and GameCube days where like you're getting dialogue, you're getting some like kind of grounded stuff going on. But like, you know, think about the storytelling in the first Zelda on like NES, like it's nothing, you know, like
it's dangerous to go alone. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah,
Save the princess.
Like exactly. Which is like cool. And I think when done well, it can be like such a flex, you know? I can't say this is like the perfect example of that, but like, you know, I haven't talked about this on the show yet just because I'm not like super deep into it yet, but I've been playing that like Dragon Quest III remake on Switch.
Nice.
And like the whole thing just feels like such a fucking flex because they're like, we've not changed this game very much. Like, sure, the mechanics are there and like they've added like, you know, a quest marker, but like the structure of the game is pretty intact, which to me just feels them being like, we knew all along how good this shit was, you know, like just having a call to adventure and being able to be like, you like just go out there and save the world. Like that's enough. Right. And so, and you see that coming back around in shit like Dark Souls or even the more modern Zeldas and shit like that, where the call to action is pretty vague. Or even Octopath, right? Like Octopath 2 was like, it's not super specific about how all of this is going to culminate, but it is like fun to travel along that road. And so I think like Blue Fire is doing a little bit of that, but like not to the same degree for sure. But yeah, I'm definitely learning to appreciate the sparseness of a game telling story if it's done well. Yeah, absolutely. There is a way to just let you feel it, right? Just experience it. Just totally, like you said, just the call to action. That's it. And just go. Save the world. Save the world. See what's going on. Let your own curiosity tug you forward. And I do think this game does well with that because it does feel like immediately that there is a depth to this lore in this world that you are just not getting. And I think that just the visuals and where you start and like the couple of notes that you see around you when you wake up all point to that, and I think are very simple but very effective ways of making you feel like I have just woken up into a world where something wild is happening and I don't know what, and I just have to experience it and see what's going on. Yeah, totally. Which is fun. That's cool. Yeah, it's good. We're touching on this earlier about like how advantageous it can be to do something like Metaphor, where you've got this long time to sort of like dig into the details of a story. But it is like, it's really impressive when a game company can like give you very little and have that still be compelling, you know? Yeah, both ends of the spectrum, when they're done right, are excellent, I would say, right? Yeah. It's just very hard to nail it either way, but when you get it, you know it, and you appreciate it. You're like, wow, it's just hitting on all cylinders. Yeah, it fucking works. It's hard to say exactly what it is in particular about the world and just the visuals that bring you into this game and make you feel like, yes, there is something worthwhile to figure out going on here. But it does. I don't know. Maybe its vibe matches our vibe. Yeah. I think when you're doing sparseness in story, like it all has to be kind of consistent and like work together, you know, because you can't really rely on like just straight up exposition to be the thing that like characterizes your story. And so like you need to be doing like more environmental storytelling or even just like vibe storytelling, right? Like, like Kingdom Hearts. Or like even less so Kingdom Hearts, but just like those void levels I think are a good example where it's like, it's this like floating kind of destroyed world that you're going into. Yeah. And like what does that say about the world that you're living in, right? Like
Exactly.
what feeling does it evoke to go to those kind of places?
Yeah, and I would say that in some games you would do that and you would just be like, oh, this is just some weird like other world that I just go in and it's just a very video gamey thing and there's just like little challenge levels in here. But in this one, you're like, what the heck is going on here? Why is it like this? Why is it destroyed? Why is it so different? What is this place? It very much somehow encouraged me to question things like that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And I just think it's well done. It's hard to do to stoke curiosity.
Yeah. It's why those levels in Super Mario Sunshine are so haunting, where it's like the ones where you get the flood taken from you and it's just like you're doing these like platforming challenges like in a void. It's another void, right? Like it's these haunting levels that like if you look too far into them, you're like, why am I here? What is this? You know?
Sure.
And so like they're in that case, they're kind of using the vibe storytelling in the wrong direction, where it's like I think that Super Mario Sunshine is largely trying to go for like a pretty happy-go-lucky vacation vibe, you know, like you're cleaning shit up and it's kind of scary, but like that level is like, where am I, dude? Like, did Mario die? Is this where he goes when he dies?
This is hell.
Yeah, this is Mario hell. And so it's relying on kind of a similar thing of it being like this other space, which I think is cool. Reminds me a little, it's not exactly the same thing, but like Neon White, where you do those like kind of platforming challenges and they're in this like liminal space almost, which is really cool. At any time one of the void levels showed up, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, here we go. This is the good shit.
It is the good shit. Yeah, it is. It does feel like that is the more distilled, concentrated mechanical portion of the game.
Yeah, which is, it's kind of bizarre because I was thinking like, what if that was just the game? What if they just did the platforming stuff? And like, honestly, don't know if that would have worked. Like, I think the platforming challenges give meaning to the 3D exploration stuff a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like it feels more meaningful to come back with like, I've got more life. Like that's important to me out here. And like, you know, maybe you're a little bit tangibly better at doing the platforming stuff, which is also cool.
Yeah.
But without it, I think there would be something missing. Like, I don't think you could just simply remove it and have that be a really good game too. I think it would lose some of the sense of adventure that you get from the overworld and, you know, the fairly rudimentary but still important combat.
Yeah, I agree. They work in a vacuum. Neither one is exceptional, but together they really help to create a cohesive whole that makes sense and is fun. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm usually on the side of like, take out everything that doesn't work, you know, like, and I wouldn't go as far as to say, you know, either one of these doesn't work. I wouldn't go that far, but I really appreciate the like Shadow of the Colossus eco design by subtraction shit, where it's like you take everything out that isn't so important to the story, you know, like that isn't just totally critical to the experience of playing this game. But I think even with that design philosophy, I think you'd still be left with both of these pieces. I think it has to have both for this game to like work correctly. Because like just a platformer, I think would be like, that's a different game and doing something different. Yeah. And just the kind of Zelda portions would also be a different thing that I don't know would be exactly right either.
Yeah, because they're I think both of the gameplay types in this game, the action and the platforming, they're both good, but I don't know if they could alone carry a whole game, like carry my interest for a whole game. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Because the platforming levels are pretty intense but short, right? Whereas the combat, like the overworld levels, are kind of the opposite. They're lengthy, they're long, and there's little bits of action in between that aren't particularly challenging, but still make you feel like you are exploring it on an adventure. So I think that they kind of pace each other well in a way that is engaging. It gives like texture to the game in a way that I don't think it would be there if it was missing. Exactly. Weird conclusion to come to. Yeah, but I think I'm for it. I like that conclusion. Feels right. I also do too. Yeah. Cool. I feel like that's all I got for this game. Yeah, this game was great. Oh, one other thing I would like to say. Yeah. Or actually maybe two other things I'd like to say. Wow, two? Yeah, sorry. The fuck? Sorry, everyone. We're going still. I really liked that the long dash could be ended whenever you wanted. It did not have to be the long dash. Once I realized that, I'm like, okay, this is much better, because I was having some trouble with some of those levels. I'm like, how do I do this? So good design choice, because in a 3D space, that's the less style gameplay is hard to translate a little bit, but it worked. Yeah,
You have to be so careful with like making it feel good without making it feel punishing. It's such a hard balance to hit. Right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Even like one of the greats, like Mario 64, there's some times where you're like, I shouldn't have fallen off that fucking platform just now. Like, that's not what I meant to do. And so like, yeah, I feel like just giving you as much control as you can without feeling like, you know, so video gamey. It's like, it's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah, because it's really just 2 buttons, and it's like you either long press or don't. And that controls where you're going. And that worked. Worked really well, actually. The other thing is the music was great. The music was really good, I thought.
Music was good. Yeah, I was surprised by that. Not that like they would have bad music, but I was like, I wasn't expecting it to be here. It's nice.
Yeah, and it swelled when I wanted it to swell. And it was like in the game overworld as well. So I thought they used their music nicely.
Yeah, totally. I kind of hope to see a reevaluation and maybe like, you know, some games really taking that era of games into consideration. I think you see that with shit like this and Pseudo Regalia. I'm kind of waiting for like one of these to really hit. Not that I think both of these games are really good. I think Pseudo Regalia specifically is like really, really good. Yeah. But I am curious, like, is there going to be like a mass appeal to this kind of genre? You know,
the
like,
indie 3D platformer.
Sort of. Yeah. Just like kind of the throwback design, you know, like I think we played a little bit of this with Darksiders. That was like, it's sort of doing the Zelda thing, but like, where does a game that's like very much channeling the Ocarina of Time or Wind Waker, where does that happen that feels like it is paying attention to the past, but also doing something different? It may just be another fucking Zelda that they make that is like doing it that well. Yeah. But yeah, I'm interested in kind of how that culminates and where that goes.
Interesting.
Because there is no shortage of people who are influenced by the the Zelda games, you know?
Yeah. I'd say even if you don't enjoy Zelda games as a game designer, you're still influenced by them. It's kind of impossible not to be, I'd say.
It's in the water at a certain point.
Yeah. It's like the fluoride. Well, enjoy your fluoride while you can. Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe drink extra fluoride soon.
The Kennedys are back, baby.
Well, hey, do you have anything else to say about this game?
No, that's it.
Good one. Thank you to both Rob.i and Crawdaddy for their suggestions.
Yes, thank you both.
Hello gamers, it's me Chase. I'm here to guide you through the outro. Thank you for listening. I'm going to start that at the top. I usually say that later. Thank you for listening.
Wow, starting off strong with the gratitude.
Yeah, with the gratitude. It's the I've got an attitude of gratitude right now.
Wow, that hit me hard. I love that. It is Giving Tuesday, so
it's Giving Tuesday. I gave today.
Hey,
I gave.
Great. Good for you.
Donated to the Alzheimer's Foundation.
Oh, hell yeah.
Gave them some money. Hopefully they can help. But thank you for listening. We appreciate you being here. Thank you to everybody who supports us doing this show. Scout Wilkinson, thank you for your art for the show. Thank you to anybody who leaves a review of the show on some kind of podcast catcher. That's very helpful for that algorithm, how to push us out a little bit more. Thank you to those who show it to a friend and you're like, check this fucking podcast out. Thank you to our partners who are fine with us coming into this space weekly to talk to each other.
Out. Love it.
Big partner shout out this week. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. If you want to check out more about the show, you can go to podtimism.com. It's got links to most of our shit, most notably probably the Discord link to the Discord that we hang out in, which is the TWG Discord, which is the podcast network that we are a part of. Got a bunch of shows on there too if you want to check out some other like-minded stuff, such as Can't Let It Go, .zip, Frog of the Week, Girl Mode, Into the Aether, and Paws and Claws as well.
Love it. What a lineup.
So, yeah, what a lineup. There's some good ones. There's some goodies. Well, actually, you know what? They're all goodies. In fact, I listen to all of them.
They're all hidden gems. Gems only.
Yeah. Oops, all gems.
Oops all gems.
So yeah, give it a look. Come hang out. Chat it up. We're talking about office chairs today in there.
Love it.
Love it. So yeah, do that. Also, thank you. And that's all I got. David, do you have any gaming wisdom?
Man, it's hard to follow. My attitude is gratitude. Wow.
That one really sent shockwaves through you.
That was powerful. That was powerful. It's a powerful thing. Yeah, I think just be if you got a good friend, just be on this wild ride of life with them. Just be there.
Wow.
Just be there for them. Ups and downs, trials and tribulations.
Sure.
Just be a sounding board. Support them. It's good. Feels good. And then maybe you'll get a pretty cool splash screen where both your hands are shaking and like your veins are popping out and it looks cool.
What is that a reference to, dude? Oh, that's metaphor.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking about fucking manga still. I was like, what is that? Like, is that Frieren? What are you telling me right now?
Oh, no, that's metaphor still, which is like, manga adjacent, I would say.
Yeah. That is true. That is true. But yeah, no, you get a fucking cool ass screen and it's like
Rank up.
for your friendship.
You can feel it in your heart.
What can you think of any times that you and I had like a rank up in terms of friendship?
Ooh, shit. I
think
think when we would call each other in middle school,
Yes. Yeah, that is true.
when we started doing that on a regular basis, that was definitely a rank up.
When we transitioned into a long distance relationship, despite living in the same place, like
Literally
didn't
like
go
not even a 5-minute
so
drive from each
close.
other.
Yeah.
We don't go to the same school anymore. I gotta call my buddy every night.
I got to chat.
Gotta
I
chat.
got the hunger to chat on the phone, man.
Chase had to tell me about Conker's Bad Fur Day.
That is true. I had a need.
See, I always say we would do this even if people weren't listening, if we were doing it
did.
back then.
Yeah. I'm pretty glad that episode of Podtimism never got aired. Just a fucking, because I don't think I can go back and listen to how much I loved Conker's Bad Fur Day, because I did as a kid. I was fucking crazy.
Come on, you're a
about
kid. Give yourself some grace.
Listen, if that child came up to me, I would not judge them, but knowing my own arc and knowing where I have come and where I have gone, I'm like, man, that's bad taste. You got bad taste in games right now, bucko.
Chase, can you give that version of yourself a hug? Is that possible?
Yeah, and I'm gonna rank up.
Rank up with
me.
myself.
There's at some point we had slept over and we watched some like fucking weird television show at like 4 a.m, like that was about like penguins or something.
Oh, wow. A deep
that
memory.
one felt like a canonical rank up.
Was
to
that
me.
at my house?
It was at your house.
Yeah, no, I remember this.
Mhm.
We were up way too early and
Yeah.
we tried to keep the volume down low because my parents were still sleeping.
Yeah.
Of
in
course.
like the room next to us. Like
Yeah.
they
yeah,
were
'cause
not
that's where
far.
the TV was.
Yeah.
They probably heard. They probably heard us
I'm sure
watching
they
Pip
did.
Out Penguins at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
They're like, these boys are going to stay safe. This is great.
Yeah, honestly, that is pretty sick. Like if they're just fucking around, they're trying to be quiet. Like,
Yeah.
all right.
And then watching
Whatever.
like informative nature documentaries about penguins. Great. I love it.
Yeah.
It's better than drugs. Anything else? A road trip.
Road trip. That's a big rank
That's a big
up.
one.
Yeah.
That's like 2 or 3 ranks up, I would say.
I think so. Yeah.
Key Club?
Ooh, yeah.
Maybe a
Our
little bit.
membership to the junior Kiwanis of Sacramento.
The Cali Nevha bees. Any bees in the chat right now?
Man, I would love it if there was a fucking
Were the bees
A
buzz?
if there was a NorCal bee in the audience.
No, not just
If
NorCal.
you-
Cali Nevha. California, Nevada, and
Yeah.
Hawaii, please. 3
it
states.
took me so long to figure out what the fuck that meant.
Like, what are these chants? What do they mean?
It seemed sort of cultish, yeah.
I mean, I had no idea how cultish it was until we went to that big conference.
Like Key Club conference.
That was
yeah. There were like
crazy.
thousands of other attempting to be overachieving Key Club members. So bizarre.
That was wild. I had no idea it was that big. There were like
Me
thousands of people.
There were thousands of people there.
That conference room was cavernous. It was massive.
Huge.
I
Yeah.
distinctly remember being like so far back from the main stage, I couldn't see a thing. I had to squint.
Nothing.
I
Absolutely.
should have brought
not. Yeah.
binoculars. It was wild. Key Club went hard back in the day.
That kid sung that version of like 1,000 Miles by Vanessa Carlton, but like about being in Key Club. Can you imagine? Do you remember how fucking feral people went for that? They were
People went
losing their
nuts.
minds.
They were like jumping off of the walls for that.
Yes. Yeah.
Climbing to the ceiling just to jump off of it. That was insane. Yeah. Wow.
This is what Key Club does to the high school mind.
It was something else, man.
Yeah.
But hey, better than doing drugs, maybe.
There's no way all of those kids were sober. Some of them were getting up to something, man.
That's very true. You can't put like several thousand
No.
high schoolers in a conference room and not have them be doing something
At
illicit.
least a few, you know?
'Cause where was that?
I think it was in San Diego, if I'm
About
not
to say,
mistaken.
the only other time I've been to the San Diego Convention Center was for Comic-Con. Very different vibes. Very different
Yeah,
vibes.
pretty. I would imagine a little less stinky at Key Club.
Yeah. Every once in a while. And honestly, Comic-Con, not that stinky. Not as stinky as I thought it was going to be.
That's huge.
Way more crowded than I thought it was going to be. Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
Anxiety
that go to that shit.
inducing. But
Anyway,
Rank up.
rank up with your friends.
it will rank up with you next week.
Yeah,
Listener.
we will.
Goodbye.
Bye.
RPG, the worst garbage, online.